Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh, and on today's broadcast, Emmanuel Macron fights to save the Iran deal to Donald Trump with his visit with Trump. He's saying, please don't destroy it yet. I would really appreciate it. Thanks. All right, so after late vote shifts, the Senate has approved Mike Pompeo for the Secretary of State. And finally, the DNC's lawsuit against the WikiLeaks poses what can be looked at as a serious threat to press freedom. Alright, that's our show today. Looks pretty fun, as always, and we thank you so much for joining us here today. We are back on the air, of course. And yeah, that's the dealio today. Alright, so yeah, lead story today for us is that President Trump, he will come under increasing pressure from the visiting French and German leaders this week not to scrap the 3-year-old agreement, nuclear agreement with Iran next month, as American and European negotiators make tentative progress towards a new deal to toughen the limits on Tehran. So, he's going to get the Merkel Macron 1-2 punch over the next couple of weeks, just this week. Merkel will be on Friday to follow the message of just keep this deal, pretty much is what that message is. President Emmanuel Macron of France arrived Monday at the White House for his first state visit of the Trump presidency, intending on using his unusual bond with the American president to try to persuade him to preserve the Iran deal, at least for now. While not as close personally to Trump, Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany will follow on Friday to try and reinforce the message. And I think there's a good possibility if they know how to manipulate him enough, they could be successful, and that could be pretty much only the moderating influence. And there's now that there is kind of a little bit of an uptick on in media coverage on this matter, that we see that it's kind of in trouble now, and it's really quite interesting because It's kind of based on the possibility that they could, if these regulations are taken away, they will get a nuclear weapon, bam, like in literally 0 years. They can start enriching their uranium. They can start firing up their reactors again, and they could really make a nuclear weapon pretty relatively quickly. In fact, so there is that sensible worry that there could be a problem when it comes to the fact of true, just getting them to de-arm here and denuclearize could be pretty tough. So, that's the thing people are kind of looking at today and debating as time goes by here. So the back-to-back visits come before a May 12th deadline set by Trump to fix the Iran agreement or walk away from it. Under the agreement sealed in 2015 by President Barack Obama, Iran has curbed its nuclear program in exchange for relief from crippling international sanctions. But Trump and other critics have assailed it because it doesn't. It begins to expire after a decade and does not block Iran's missile development or try to stop it from destabilizing the region. But in truth, though, there is so much that it's offered from this bill. Like we get the almost zero chance of their we get the fact that there will be almost zero chance that they will violate it in any real way, shape, or form. We get the fact that it's going to be it's going to be pretty clear that it's pretty clear that they will be honest about this. They've already been checked by the UN's international watchdog for atomic weapons, and they have already complied 10 times. So, we get so much assurance from this deal, and that's just the main problem about it. That the main thing that you want to keep about it, not the main problem about it, just the fact that it is going away. That's just the main problem. So in recent weeks, they have negotiated American and European negotiators have made progress towards side agreements that would lay out new standards for Iran to meet or risk reimposition of sanctions from the West. Negotiators have generally reached a consensus on the measures to constrain Iran's ballistic missile program, according to people briefed on the talks, but remain divided over how to extend the restrictions on the original agreement due to lapse starting 2025. Most importantly, the Europeans want assurances that if the side agreements are reached, the United States will stand a deal, a hard commitment for American officials to make, given Mr. Trump's mercurial nature. But European leaders hope they can persuade him to hold off by showing enough progress in negotiations that he can claim that the deal he is making is better. So we hope that this is going to be a pretty. The funny thing is, we're outsourcing our leadership to Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel on this issue, which is kind of funny. So it'll be interesting to see if they follow through. It'll be interesting to see if they can kind of get them to turn here. But I don't know. So I suspect this will be a very difficult conversation, Wendy Sherman, the top State Department official who negotiated the Iran deal for Obama, said. I'm sure that Macron will say things about how important staying in the deal is to a strong transatlantic relationship in all things, particularly security. I think Merkel will deliver the same message on Friday. So you really got to hammer that message home and give him the things Trump likes. We need you guys, pretty much. We need you guys to get it through. So, talk about destabilizing the region. If this deal was undone, then Iran would be able to destabilize the region because they'd bust right out of those sanctions very quickly. And very fast. So, and they would just literally be forced to. They just start the same rigmarole that they were doing this past time. So it's just that's just the worrying problem here that we continue to keep seeing over and over again. So that's just the. That's the part we're playing here, pretty much. So, Mohammad Javad Zarif is Iran's foreign minister. He implicitly made the point on Monday by noting negotiations that led to the nuclear agreement between his country and 6 world powers involved give and take by all sides. And now the United States is saying what's mine is mine and what's yours is negotiable, but whatever I give you, now I want it back. Mr. Zarif said in an interview with the National Interest, a Washington Policy magazine, who in their right mind would deal with the U.S. anymore? And one of the questions where people could be asking that is North Korea. North Korea is in a very good position, if you think about it right now, to deal with the U.S. They have a perfect kind of little thing set up where they may be dealing with the U.S. in the very near future, and they want to have, by all stretch of the imagination, they want to have their ability. They want to be sure that the United States won't try to cripple their economy again if they give up their nuclear weapons. And just because they have some sort of mercurial leader that somehow changes office, that somehow gets elected in office again, that doesn't mean they should have to pay the price. It's just going to so damage the Iranian relations in the region. That's really what's going to destabilize the region. The fact of distrust against America will spread not just from the top, from the Islamic clerics. It's going to spread down to the middle class, which you may know has relatively favorable views of America at that time. So there is a pretty, it's really kind of a pretty interesting and kind of delicate situation. So hopefully Macron's really putting in the work and trying to convince him there. That quote from Zarif I think is so important for our position on the world stage because it's going to have so many impacts in the future. And we can't be a global player when we say, and I quote here, what's mine is mine and what's yours is negotiable, but whatever I gave you, now I want it back. That's just not going to work. Trump is facing conflicting positions among his own advisors as he reconstitutes the national security team. John Bolton, his new national security advisor, has long advocated simply ending the Iran deal, while Mike Pompeo, set to become Secretary of State, is open to keeping it if strong new provisions can be negotiated. That's what they're doing now. They are working to negotiate it at this point. So Mike Pompeo may be the sensible one in that way for that reason there. So Macron arrived in Washington to a festive welcome. American and French flags flew on Pennsylvania as he and his wife Brigitte Macron were greeted at the White House by Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump. Mr. Macron reached in for a hug and a kiss, Mr. Trump on both cheeks, the French style, a sign of their warm ties. The couples headed inside for a few minutes, smiling and chatting casually as the cameras recorded the moment, just kind of the awkward conversation. Wielding shovels, the two presidents moved some dirt where a tree was to be planted, a gift from the Macrons. A tree, European sessile oak, came from Belleau Wood, where during World War I, nearly 10,000 American Marines were killed or injured in June 1918. From there, the two couples flew by helicopter to George Washington's Mount Vernon estate for dinner, where they also toured the place there as well. Macron will return to the White House on Tuesday morning for a pomp-filled arrival ceremony on the South Lawn to meet with members of all five branches of the military in formal uniforms. The two presidents will hold meetings and conduct a joint news conference. In the evening, the Trumps will host their first state dinner featuring rack of spring lamb, Carolina gold rice jambalaya cooked New Orleans style. Oh, that seems pretty good. Trump and Macron have forged a pretty unlikely friendship despite their political differences over the Iran international trade, climate change, and other issues. While Europeans consider Macron their envoy to Trump, he has had mixed success influencing the president. The two leaders teamed up to launch airstrikes in Syria, but when Macron publicly said that he had persuaded Mr. Trump to keep American troops in the country for the long term, the White House quickly disputed him, and thank goodness. I sure hope that's not true. And if he is in that area for so long, I mean, let's hope he's putting get out of the Iran deal in his ear, and that's it. Because God knows what kind of stupid warmongering crap that Macron is saying to our president. He's our president. You can't mess around with him, all right? Yeah, so anyway, we are going to move on now. We take you from Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, anyway, to Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill is what is in it for us today. And, so this is what we got. We're taking you to Capitol Hill, where the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, in a late pivot on Monday evening, approved the confirmation of Mike Pompeo to be the next Secretary of State after Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, bowed to pressure from President Trump and dropped his opposition. For days, the committee appeared ready to deliver a pretty, really pretty much to deliver a historic rebuke here. And that would be pretty interesting. Since it began considering nominations in the late 19th century, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee has never given a nominee for a Secretary of State anything but a favorable vote, according to a Senate historian. It has been almost 30 years since any cabinet nominee was reported to the full Senate with an unfavorable recommendation. But minutes before the committee convened, Mr. Paul, an ardent opponent of the interventionist foreign policy of the CIA, declared his support for Mike Pompeo, the CIA director, to lead the State Department, securing approval from the committee. After calling continuously for weeks for Director Pompeo to support President Trump's belief the Iraq war was a mistake and that it's time to leave Afghanistan, today received confirmation that Director Pompeo agrees with President Trump. President Trump believes the war was a mistake and that war was a mistake and regime change has destabilized the region, and we must end our involvement in Afghanistan. Having received assurances from President Trump and Director Pompeo that he agrees with the president on these important issues, I've decided to support his nomination. Trump told reporters that, quote, Paul has never let us down last week, and that he is a good man. So I guess Trump would say the same thing now of Rand Paul. So pretty much the point is, like, you really think Mike Pompeo is on your side here? Okay. Not even the president is on his side. Like, literally, he's saying that, but just literally a year ago, he decided to keep more freaking troops in Afghanistan. Like, he has more troops in Afghanistan, and he had the opportunity to take them out. It's the endless war that we are going to continue and continue forever.